That's right, cool cats. This is my jazz top 10 list for 2022. The legend, Mr. Grant Green on the guitar. This is on that 75 Years of Blue Note CD, which, you know, if you're a jazz beginner like me, it's a good way to go. Get them all, all the greats from Blue Note. So yeah, jazz. You know, it's funny. I was a little kind of skeptical to make this video because jazz can be taken pretty seriously. And I mean, there's some pretty intimidating channels on the VC that, you know, talk about jazz. And I feel like, you know, you need maybe a PhD. And I certainly don't know a lot about jazz. I know what I like. I know what I like to listen to. I watch what's coming out. Blue Note has helped me a lot with their Tone Poet series and their classic series, as they tend to offer some pretty amazing titles, and you get to know the different players, and you know, that's definitely a good way to go. And then of course, between you know, what you catch up on with these videos and whatnot. But anyway, here's the deal. This is my top 10 list. I can't go into all the detail about who's playing what and whatever, because I don't really know. I only know what I read in the label, and what's the point of me sitting here reading the label? So anyway, the first release that I really enjoyed this year, and I know a lot of people were getting wet in their pants for this baby coming out. Of course, this is John Coltrane's Blue Train, which I believe was his only Blue Note recording as a solo, as a band leader, as they would say in the days. Train. Yeah, this is, you know, wonderfully done. This was one of the Tone Poets, which usually means it's a gatefold. This one had the addition of more of a booklet inside. I've always really enjoyed how these are packaged. All the great photos and whatnot. I mean, John Coltrane, I mean, he's a pretty cool guy from what I understand. I mean, you can't really argue with that. And I do know who Lee Morgan is, and he plays trumpet on this. And I do know who Paul Chambers is. But anyway, this is great. It's easy to listen to. It's easy to digest. You don't have to be a jazz wizard to enjoy this. I know as Coltrane went on, his work became, you know, a bit more avant-garde, a lot more progressive, and maybe harder for the, you know, the newbie like myself to get into. But this is very good, and this was amazing. This is the stereo. It also came out in mono. I chose the stereo because one of those jazz channels said that was the one to get. So I don't know, but that's the one I got. It comes with 2 discs. The first disc is the original album, remastered probably by that Kevin Gray guy. Rudy Van Gelder, that's the original. Yes, LP mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. And the second disc is some alternative takes. So there you go. John Coltrane, Blue Train. Now this one I think is pretty cool. I don't think many people will show this one. This was a Record Store Day release. And this is Chet Baker live in Paris, the trio live in Paris. This was recorded between 83 and 84, so quite late. I think Chet died in 88. Chet Baker is someone that I have been drawn to. I think I first heard of Chet Baker on Elvis Costello's Shipbuilding from his, what album was that? With Every Day I Write the Book. So I was in grade 9, I think, when that came out. Anyway, Chet Baker plays a trumpet solo on that Costello album. Not that I delved into that at that point, but I always remembered that name. And when I started getting into jazz, maybe in my mid to late 20s, I'm 55 next month, so still 2.5 decades ago, I remember looking up Chet Baker and getting into some of his music. I liked his story. Like, he was rough and ready. He was in bar fights. He was, that whole Paris 1950s scene. Really cool. So this is him, obviously, like I say, 4 years or less from when he passed. And this is really good. There's singing on it. There's playing on it. And it's intimate. You can tell it's a small room. The sound quality is fantastic. This was mastered by Kevin Gray, also at Coherent. And I was really super impressed with this. I love just playing it in the background and just the emotion that Chet Baker, I get his emotion. I don't always get the emotion of all jazz musicians, but I seem to get his. I can feel his pain. You can feel his lost, kind of looking for love. Yeah, amazing. Chet Baker. Live in Paris from Record Store Day. I think it's a triple album, too, if I'm not mistaken. Next up is Kenny Burrell. I do tend to lean towards the guitar playing in jazz. My ear likes it. And I guess if you're new to jazz, Kenny Burrell probably makes some of the most easy sounding guitar playing, digestible jazz music you can get into. Again, tone poet with a lovely inner. This one, Kenny Burrell, Kenny Dorham. I know who he is. Tommy Flanagan. Maybe I've heard of him. Anyway, front cover by Andy Warhol, by the way. A little Andy Warhol sketch, which is kind of cool. This sounds amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you'd think Kenny was sitting right over there on a stool playing guitar. Absolutely beautiful. I was just trying to see if this was his debut or not. His guitars, his talents, first not like an LP debut. Anyway, I'm not sure, but this is fantastic. And in kind of the other guitar great, who I was playing on the intro there, Grant Green. This is Feeling the Spirit. This has, of course, Herbie Hancock, who I've heard of. Another tone poet with the beautiful gatefold. The photos that they took, Francis Wolff, unbelievable. Again, this is very bluesy jazz, very digestible. Just sounds great. Yeah. There you go. Sorry, I don't want to bore you and pretend like I'm this encyclopedia of jazz. I can only give you what I know, but yeah, fantastic. Dial S for Sonny. Sonny Clark. Sonny Clark is a piano player. And this was his first album as a leader. This is on the Blue Note, the classic series, so you don't typically get the gatefold with these. I love the whole, Dial M for Murder kind of little scenario there. Hank Mobley and Art Farmer play on this. I know who they are. This is, obviously piano driven with lots of solos from everybody else involved. And sounds fantastic. This is one that, a lot of people talked about, one of the better sounding jazz albums to pick up. And I think Art Pepper and 11, the modern jazz classics, I think Art Pepper's, go-to album to have. Sounds amazing. Was this on Kraft? I think. Yes, this is on Kraft Records. This is like a big band album. You've got Dizzy Gillespie. You've got Monk. You've got Charlie Parker. You've got Sonny Rollins. You've got Jerry Mulligan. This was mastered from the all analog tapes by Bernie Grunman, and it was pressed at QPR. Really, really, really good album. Sounds like if you want to show off your system, if you're one of those audiophile people, yeah, this is a good one. Lovely jacket, nice and thick. Art Pepper and 11. Little Canadian, Oscar Peterson. We Get Requests. This is a really, really fun album. I've always loved that Have You Met Miss Jones? They do a great rendition of that. These are like your jazz standards, you know, so this is very easy listening, very desirable. Now these are on Verve, and Verve does a very similar thing to the Tone Poets. It's kind of like a competitive thing where they're putting out their kind of, you know, high leveled, you know, audiophile sounding. This is the supervisor in this, of course, is Chad Chasm from Acoustic Sounds. You've probably seen him on videos. The girl from Impanina. Yeah, Quiet Nights of Quiet Stars. Yeah, just very nostalgic. Reminds me of my grandparents. You know, like you'd hear these songs, you know, when you go over to their house when I was young, and you would hear these songs. Not necessarily done by Oscar Peterson, but because they're standards. You know, you hear them. They live in your brain, right? Anyway, sounds beautiful. Great album. I think like my favorite sounding album of the year, I really played this to death. I've always been a big Ella Fitzgerald fan, and of course Louis Armstrong. You know, does everyone remember the first time, you know, if you're not old, like, you know, like some of the people on the VC that kind of grew up with this stuff, I remember watching the Grammy Awards, probably around 1984. And they were giving out one of those special Grammys, you know, for your lifelong contribution to music. And I mean, I was there for, you know, all the pop people of the day, of course. And this little lady came out on stage. I mean, she was old and she was tiny and she had glasses on and wrinkles. And I recall that she didn't say anything. I recall she went right up to the mic and started singing. And I looked at my mom and I went, wow, who is that? Of course, my mom knew who it was. She goes, oh, that's Ella Fitzgerald. And man, I fell in love with Ella Fitzgerald that night. It was fantastic. Anyway, this was an album she did. There's two of these. There's Ella and Louie. And then there is a part two, which I think is out now. Look at those pictures. Boom. Just fantastic. Again, this is all your classics, all your jazz standards, improvised between the two of them. You know, you've got Isn't This a Lovely Day? They Can't Take That Away From Me. April in Paris. Cheek to Cheek. Oh man, just a extraordinary, you know, collection of music. And wow, does it sound beautiful. Just beautiful. Unbelievable. Yeah, highly recommend that one. I guess these last two are kind of what they call the California sound. So even though I can't remember this. This is, I think, Kraft Records, this first one. This is 4. This is Hampton Hawes, who I'd never heard of, with Barney Kessel, Shelly Manne, and Red Mitchell. in association with Contemporary Records. This is what they call the Pacific sound, right? The Pacific jazz sound, which I really like. I think Chet Baker, some of his early work kind of falls into that category. And yeah, this is good. This is fun. This is like, like The Talented Mr. Ripley, that movie, and there was like that fun, upbeat jazz in the background. That's what this kind of sounds like. And again, being a craft record recording, it sounds fantastic, even though they have it on, I think that is the Classic Contemporary label, which was like the West Coast kind of jazz, but it does say craft recordings on there. So that's 4. And last but not least, which I just picked this up within the last 2 weeks, just before Christmas. Again, that Pacific jazz sound. This is Picture of Health with Art Pepper. And of course, it was easy for me to buy this because it had Chet Baker on it. And again, just that really fun, fast, rhythmy kind of jazz that everyone gets a little solo, but it's not too far off course, and it's just easy on the ears and fun. Very good. And this sounds amazing too. This actually is a tone poet, but it doesn't come with a gatefold, or I don't believe. Oh, there's just a little thing that says it's a tone poet, but no fancy pictures other than on the front. You can see how young Chet Baker is there compared to that other album I showed earlier. Anyway, those are my top 10 jazz releases of 2022. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of a discovery for me as well, and I encourage you to take the journey. It's amazing how fun jazz can be to discover, actually, because it's there's not a lot of rock music or popular culture music. Sometimes you have to expand. I know people get into world music, and and jazz is another one of those rabbit holes you can go down, and with things like Verve and Blue Note making them more and more accessible for us to find, it's definitely a fun time. So guys, thank you. If you enjoyed my video, hit the subscribe button. And yeah, if I don't see you guys, peace, Happy New Year, best for 2023. Buy all the vinyl you can, and I'll speak soon. Thanks, everybody.